Come on in, Facebook. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in, Facebook. This is the day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. Well, we're so glad to come to you. This is Apostle Dr. Sylvester Paul Brinson III. I am your host of the Brinson Institute. This is the Brinson Connection. And this is another day, another time in our weekly presentation. And we're just so glad to be with you, all of our Facebook family from around the world. Thank you for your inbox and your information, those who have called, those who have shared, those who have responded, those of you that are watching me live right now, those of you that are catching this program later on in the evening or during the day, those of you that are connecting to us by Twitter, to our Twitter family, those of you that are connected to us by our YouTube, those of you that are looking at us by YouTube, subscribe to us and get your notification. Those of you that are watching us now, if you would just hit the share button, hit the share button, hit your share button now, share it, share it with a friend, share it with a person, let them know that Apostle Dr. Sylvester Paul Brinson of the Brinson Connection is on there, coming all the way from Chicago metropolitan area, from the city of Chicago, the state of Illinois, United States of America, part of the world. Amen. Hey, so we're so glad to be here on today. So many things are going on in the news. So many things are going on in the media. I'm sure you have all of your news media and the news people to give you that and to talk about it, all your commentators. But we come into you and we've been continuously for this season talking about the International Sunday School lesson. For those that have studied with us earlier this morning from 10:30 to 12 o'clock mine, we had a great time. So those that are following us through the International Sunday School lesson series, you know that this coming Sunday, we're putting the time on this presentation. We are now in the month of April, and this is year 2021. 2021, and we always come in on the Wednesday before the Sunday with the Sunday school lesson to study the Sunday school lesson, to get some golden nuggets, and not only get some golden nuggets, but also to glean some principles for our contemporary everyday life and living. So for you that are studying with us, you all know that the Sunday school lesson is on Nehemiah. It's about Nehemiah, the captive cupbearer, rebuilding the nation, leadership. So I want to talk about Nehemiah today. I want to talk about capable leadership. I want to talk about responsible leadership. I want to take a look at the story of Nehemiah. And you all may need to read Ezra and Nehemiah and Haggai and Zephaniah, all of those kind of prophets prophesied during Ezra's time to get the story about Nehemiah. Rebuilding the walls. I want to take a look at this biblical narrative and see if we can glean some golden nuggets and principles by which we ought to live in daily living. Can we do that? Nehemiah. So let me just set the stage. The children of Israel, one of the things that is so true as we look at our Sunday school lesson from our commentaries, to note that we always talk about King Cyprus. Cyprus was used by God to set the children of Israel free. But you know what? In the commentaries, one of the things that was brought to my attention, I think it was in precepts, was that not only that, but Cyprus the Great was a Persian. When the Persian kingdom, the Medes and the Persians conquered Babylon, Babylon had a way of, when they went out into the world and conquered nations, they would bring captives from their nations. Dr. Julius, God bless you, man of God. So back in those days, from the biblical narrative, the Babylonians, when they went out to capture people, they would bring all of the good people into their land and captive them and bring them in captive into the land. The Persians came in and said, we're gonna take over the Babylonian Empire. And so Cyprus the Great, from the Median Persians, he came in power, but he said, I don't want all these immigrants in my country. So I'm going to release all of these captives, all those people that was captive by the Babylonians. You are free to leave. You can go home. Well, it just so happened historically, the Jewish community was a part of that group. So we got to see that in that perspective. So the Jewish people weren't the only ones that Cyprus let go. He let go all of those that were enslaved and all of those who were foreigners. He just let them go back home. The Jews just happened to be one part of it in keeping with God's prophecy of 70 years. One of the things that you need to note is that when God give a word, and he said, I hasten my word to perform it. In the biblical narrative, sometimes people, other people and nations are celebrated by the word to another nation. So while the children of Israel knew that, and Daniel had did his Daniel fast, that's where you get it from, to pray because the 70 years was coming up and it was time for them, those who wanted to go back home, and that God was sending his messenger, Cyprus the king, to release them to go back home. But he did that. But while he was releasing them, he was releasing others. And sometimes we have to understand that when we pray the Lord's Prayer, that we say, our Father, not my daddy. Sometimes we think God only works with us. He only works with our ethnicity. He only works with our denomination. He only works with those on one side of town. That's a misnomer. God is bigger than that. God is active and he's sovereign in the lives of men and women. And so while on one side he's answering prayer for another group of people, or he's answering prayer for you, that prayer that he's answering is always and most of the times being answered by someone else. Someone else is praying the same prayer, maybe a different situation and circumstances, but your answer of prayer is somebody else's answer of prayer. So sometimes when you give God thanks for answering your prayer, you need to say, and God, thank you for all others who prayed some of the same general prayers or specific prayers. And by answering me, you also answered them. So the children of Israel comes home. The tribes that was connected with Judah, they're coming home. Now, ironically, one of the things is almost like if I can every day. We say, okay, those of you in the north, you can go back south now. And you can pick up some land, and others say, no, I'm not going back north. I'm not going back south. I'm not going back where who was down there. I want to stay right where I am. So all of the captivity did not leave. When Cyprus said, you can leave and go back, everybody that was in the Hebrew Jewish community did not go back to Jerusalem. Everybody didn't go back. And then they came in 3 different shifts. So we get to understand that when we talk about liberation of a people, liberations of a group of people, sometimes one group of people, when there's a situation of frustration and there needs to be some liberation and change in the life, one group of people or a generation will say, we are the ones. No, you are part of a continuous story. You are part of a continuum of what God has been doing. So note this, Cyprus, and I brought it down as I was looking at some of my notes. Cyprus says the captivity ended. The first group of the Jews to return to Jerusalem from Babylon was under the leadership of Zerubbabel. Wow, what a name. Zerubbabel. So Zerubbabel leaves and take a group. The first group leaves in 538 BC. And they are in Jerusalem. They went to Jerusalem with Zerubbabel and to start getting their lives together, get their circumstances together. And so in 538, Cyprus authorizes Zerubbabel to take the first wave of the returning exiles back. Okay, and then in 521, Darius the Great, he gives funds. He gives funds to rebuild the temple. So now Sanballat and some of those other persons was just frustrated and against them. They lied and told the king, they rebuilding their temple and they're going to come against him later on. You know how people start rumors when you're doing something well. So somehow they were able to stop the grant money or put it in everyday life. They was able to stop some of the federal money coming back from Darius. And so they did not get a chance to finish up the temple under Zerubbabel. So here we go. The second wave leaves Babylon under Ezra's leadership. So that was like 79 to 80 years later. Ezra takes a group around 758. So we're talking about 79, 80 years later. Don't note this now, how God opens up the door, and we as people, we have to do the migration. God opens up the door, and Cyprus and some of the Jews, they were already involved in the political framework. They were already involved in certain parts of the community. Some of them were middle class, upper class, and then there were those who were just barely making it, like it is today. And so when the agreement was that they could go back home, some of them decided they didn't want to go back home. They was doing well in Babylon. They stayed, including Mordecai and Esther and some of the others. And some of the other people, everybody didn't jump up and get their caravan and say, we're going back to Jerusalem. That means they had to go back to Jerusalem. They had to go back to a city that had been burnt down, to go back to a church that had been burnt down. They had to go back to homes that was depleted and go back and build. Everybody does not just have that excitement and passion to go back home, to rebuild, to set up the neighborhoods. Everybody, when they leave the neighborhood, they ain't coming back. They're not coming back to the neighborhood. No. Everybody don't come back to the neighborhood. Come on now, Dr. Carl Smalls, God bless you. So some of them didn't want to go back to the neighborhood. They said, we're not going back to Jerusalem. We're doing well here in Babylon. So 79, 80 years later, Ezra gets up and he goes back. Now, Zerubbabel had become the governor, and they had built the temple. By that time, they had got the temple built, and about 50 years or so to get the temple built. But Ezra gets down there 80 years later and find out that you got a church house, you built the temple, but you ain't living. You're not living right. Your spirituality is jacked up. You're not living according to the law and what the law says and all that. You going to the temple, you going to your church, but you're not living right and doing right. Don't that sound familiar today? We got people they didn't build a big temple. It's gorgeous now. That's simple, because part of cultures that's of spirituality. And so people have a sense of religion. And in most cultures and ethnic groups, there is a house of worship, a house of spirituality of some kind, which is centered forward to the community. So the children of Israel knew that came back out of Babylon, all those from Judah and all of them, because when the Babylonian kings came, he destroyed their sin of worship, destroyed their government houses and all their representation of both the governmental side of their lifestyle and their spirituality side. So when they got back, as they began to work on their domestic affairs and build their communities, they knew that it was important to set up their whole concept of the spirituality and build a temple, because in that time while they were in Babylon, they had went to the synagogue concept because they did not have a temple. So they've got a temple now, and they're building their houses, and but yet still the city had not been built. So Ezra comes in and on the second wave, 70, 80 years later, 79, 80 years later, and start the infrastructure of land, the foundation of the worship and the celebrational life that goes along with the temple. All right. So then about 14 years later, 13 to 14 years later, Nehemiah, he comes. And when he comes with a group of people. And his concern is, well, you rebuilt the city. You rebuilt the city, the church. You rebuilt Jerusalem. Some of the houses are built, but the walls are not built. There's no structure, boundary protection. The government and the structure and the trade routes and all of that, that's left out. And still, while you learning your spirituality issues, you're learning how to come and go in the temple, you're celebrating all that. What about the governmental side? What about domestic relationships? What about trade? What about trading with other nations? What about building the economy? Nehemiah was concerned with that. Another leader with another purpose. So 14 years later, he comes with letters from Artaxerxes to do some things. So we see here in this Sunday school lesson, in this story, talks about Nehemiah making his arrival. It took about approximately, according to the scholars, 4 months to travel. Some say 1,100 miles, some say 840 miles from Iran, from the Babylon area, Shushan, the palace, all the way back down to Jerusalem was about 1,100 miles, and it took about 4 months to travel back and forth and making their stops. After he gets there in 3 days, he's up and running, taking a look at and checking out things. I want to start there to talk about capable leadership. Capable leadership and understanding what God has given you when you are a leader. Everybody, and one of the things we have to understand is that according to the narrative, there was a statement that leaders are not born, they're groomed, they're grown. Well, he was a born leader. Well, he might have some gifts, talents, and graces, but a good, strong leader is made, is matured out of the challenges of life, out of taking advantage of and becoming sensitive to life learning lessons. Sister Linda, God bless you. And so what happens with leadership and how are we in our today's world and our today's time that we need good, capable, committed leaders in our community. So I wanted to take some time out and looking at the story of Nehemiah. You all can read it on your own, but there's some of the takeaway, certain principles of leadership and the challenges of leadership. There's a couple of things I noted that, so let's get into it. So here Nehemiah comes. Now, one of the things that I thought it was good in leadership is you've got to be a strategist. Sometimes you must know what's going on. Now, Nehemiah, he was concerned. So the Ezra group that had left, he knows Zerubbabel, they had left. You know, I don't know how old Nehemiah was, but if Zerubbabel and his group had left their slave captivity 70 years, 70 to 75 to 80 years, and they're gone, they've been gone, or more by the time Nehemiah gets involved, and then they're down in the land over 80 years. Ezra goes down with another group of people to join them that's been there 80 years and stay 14 years. So that's what? Almost 200, almost 100 years, 80 and 14, you count, 94 years. So here 94 years later, from the time that Cyprus had decreed, and from the time of Artaxerxes, which was the great-grandson of Cyprus the Great, also by just on standby, Artaxerxes II was the son of Artaxerxes I, which Esther was a queen to. Esther was the queen to Artaxerxes I. Now, you know, back in those days, you all do the research. Kings had more than one wife and had wives and had a whole harem of wives. Well, Esther happened to be Artaxerxes' queen wife, who was the father of Artaxerxes II, in which Nehemiah was the king's cupbearer. Wow. See what God does in the process of bringing together leadership, in the process of helping a nation and group. He's always got people trained in different areas of life and living and stations. And so therefore, we as the body of Christ, we have to begin to be careful when we go through this myopic enterprise that everybody, God has people in certain areas, certain commissions on certain assignments, connected in certain ways. You don't know that needs to pick up the phone and use their influence or their charismata or their charisma to get the job done. God is bigger than just you. God, I'm telling somebody, that's my God. When you pray, say, Abba Father. No, when you pray, say, Abba Father, not my daddy. So some people treat God as my daddy, which means we have this person think God only talks to you. And you always got a word from the Lord for somebody else, but he never talks to you about yourself. So here it is with Artaxerxes II, Nehemiah, a Jew that didn't go back home. He didn't go back to Mississippi. He didn't go back to Jerusalem. He didn't make that 1,100 miles trip to go back. He stayed in the system. He stayed as a middle class. He was an upper class elite to be the king's cupbearer. That means he had political gain. And so here he is being the king's cupbearer to the son of the king, his father, who died. Now he's the king, but his father, which was king before him, was married to Esther, who was a Jew, who had an uncle called Mordecai, which was politically active. So therefore, Nehemiah is politically active. He comes from the jury group of Esther and Mordecai that are politically active in the system. And now he's inquiring about his brothers and sisters that's gone home trying to build something in the motherland, or gone home trying to build something back in their communities. So when he asked about what was the situation that's back with his people, that's when he was upset and discouraged to find out that they had spent time building the church, building the temple, but yet at the same time they had no political governmental structures that would aid them to do their economic development and political empowerment, and also protection and security, because in order to have a strong city in those days, you need to have a strong wall. So without a walled up city, anybody could come into the city. Anybody can come in and mess up the city. Anybody could come in to the temple. Anybody could come into the cities and the neighborhood. The animals could roam the streets. No. We need to have boundary security to what we own and possess. Now, that's a principle. The principle is why so many of us are looking to get our security together, to have this and have that. The question is, in life and living, do you present and have within you a concept of boundaries? Secured boundaries that protects who you are, protect your personality types, protect your goals and objectives, or protect you as a person, where you just out there with all your stuff, doing your thing with no protection, out there talking and sharing, but have no sense of boundary. No, Nehemiah was concerned about that. Apostle Dr. Mallory down there, God bless you, one of our sons. So what do you do? What do you do as a person that have gifts, talents, and graces? What protective boundaries and what boundaries do you have to protect your temple, your worship component, to protect your families or your house, to protect your stuff from the animals and from those who would come in and take and stuff? So Nehemiah was concerned. We've got to build the wall. It's all right. I know you building the temple. I'm glad that, about 80, 90 years ago, you decided to go back home and then meet the remnant that was there. And you all got together and hugged up and kissed that you was welcome back home, welcome to the land. And the first thing you did was to build the temple to get your spirituality, which is all a part of all cultures together. You got a temple now and you got your worship, but you're still trying to build. But at the same time, you have no boundary protection. Where is the wall? Where is the wall, Kimberly? Where is the wall of real protection? Where is the wall? So Nehemiah, he's concerned about that. Now, as a capable leader, God always prepares. Note this in the text. God always prepares your help support systems. Now, the children of Israel were released about 80 years out of Babylon, going back home, those who went back home, with Zerubbabel. Zerubbabel becomes the governor. Ezra then comes in right behind him about 80 years later, after the temple has been erected, and say, now, okay, let's look at the law. Let's go back and teach the law. Let's bring our people into their sense of spirituality. Note that one of the things that's very important, when God releases an ethnic group of people out of slavery, out of poverty, he always reinstitute the concept of relationships. And I think this is what's happening tomorrow, that within our community, particularly in the black and the brown community, we're short and we're weak on relationships, honor and respect. But we want to be free from racism. We want to be free from institutional racism, covert and overt. We want to be free from slavery, but we don't want to manifest and celebrate domestic accountability and relationships with each other to be relational. That's the first thing God did after he got the children of Israel out of Egypt, into the wilderness, on the way to the promised land. He stops and gives them the 10 Commandments, which was a bill of rights of how to get along with your brothers and your mama and how to deal with your economy. Don't kill, don't steal, don't bear false witness, don't lie on each other, don't have no drive-bys, don't be shooting up and killing all these people. See, now we want to be a nation under God. No, we want to talk about our Black Lives Matter, but we don't want to respect. We don't want to be spiritual. You can't, Black Lives Matter. Yes, they do. But your life don't matter if you don't have no spirituality with it. You got to have spirituality. So my brothers and my sisters, thank God for all of my brothers and sisters and people from the motherland, from Africa and Europe, and all of you that are watching me as well. But to my brothers and sisters in America, until we decide and make sure that we will have a spiritual point of reference, we will lose every time. Until we teach and train our young people and I don't care who they are, what age they are. There are 7 living generations on the planet. And our relationship and our job, you that are leaders and whatever, your job and our job is to share and to be relational with 7 generations. And we cannot let one generation stand up and be a knucklehead when this fight and this struggle is generational. It's generational. There's no one group that gets to celebrate. No. God of our weary, even in the African-American tradition and our song, we say, God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on our way. Thou who hast by thy might led us to this light, keep us forever in the paths we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met you, our forefathers, lest our heart drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadow beneath thy hand, may we forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land, true to our ancestors, true to our history, for those who's gone on before. No one generation can heal us. It's a combination of all generations. Even in the biblical narratives, it said, write it. Put it out there. Tell your children. Teach it to your children's children. Remove not the ancient landmark. All generations must have a point of reference. I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's a reference. Now we got people out there talking about, well, it's a higher powers. It's, that's so silly. We've got to do better than that. We've got to do better than that. We got to move with all deliberate speed to begin to you and I and all of those. And so Nehemiah was concerned about that. Nehemiah understood. And as we was looking in the story of Nehemiah, as we talk about at our Sunday school lesson, to gain some golden nuggets out of his leadership, of capable leadership. Now, one of the things that struck me as I was studying the Nehemiah concept and the Nehemiah narrative, Cousin David, God bless you. Within the Nehemiah narrative, Nehemiah understood that he was a part of a legacy. And so being the fact that he had a political position as an upper middle class, you couldn't be no. You had to be upper middle class in a special position where he was the king's cupbearer, but yet connected to his people and his heritage, and was concerned enough about it to ask about it, even though he had known that there were 2 groups of people that had left Babylon and went back home. Over 80 years ago, Zerubbabel took a group. Now Ezra comes back after 79 years later. He takes a group, and now it's about 13 or 14 years later. Nehemiah is checking in. What's going on? Well, we got the temple built. What else is going on? Well, we're coming along. Well, wait a minute, where's your walls? Is your governmental structure built? Well, no. Your sacred structure is built. Your spirituality representation is built. Ezra's there as a lawyer, scribe, keeper of the law. He's back challenging you to get your spirituality in sync so therefore you had your temple, but now, like some people, they got their temple, but they don't live based upon what the temple represent. So now Ezra is down there teaching and training the law, got you all restructuring and doing some things and celebrating what it means to live domestically in line with what God has said for you as a people as you celebrate your religious temple. Nehemiah want to know, well, from that standpoint, we got the temple, we got the church. You're learning how to be a better believer Christian. But what about social justice issues? What about banking and economics and political empowerment? What about trade? What about other things? What about building the walls of the government? Building the walls was representation of government boundaries within our celebratory life of worship. And sometimes we leave that out. Sometimes we get so stuck in praise and worship and what we do, but we don't understand that part of our life and struggle is to deal with the political, speaking truth to power, that the Old Testament prophets dealt with righteousness and justice. Righteousness and justice and saving the widow and the orphan and the homeless. All of that. I was a hungry, you gave me no meat. All of those things is a part of the narrative of the gospel that reaches into the sacred and the secular. So there's no separation between church and state. It's all of the above. We are holistic. God is actively sovereign in the lives and activities of all humanity, regardless of your ethnicity. God has a line that is dealt with in all of our issues. So he deals with us as his sons and daughters. He deals with us as earth. God so loved the world that he gave us. He deals with the world by a matter of choices that we have to make in humanity. And yet at the same time, he's touched with the feelings of our infirmity to also understand certain ethnic issues and cross-ethnic cultural viewpoints that he's also involved in. And sometimes he's dealing in specific cultural issues and certain specializations, while at the same time dealing with a world economy as well as a local economy. So out of that process, God prepares leaders. And that's why I say to people, some of you all that are watching me, stop always double interviewing leaders that God sent to you. Some of you pastors, apostles, and bishops, some of you community workers and activists, some of you all, you over spiritualize and frustrate your help. Now, if you pray and ask God, I need God to send me somebody. If you in corporate America, I need a good assistant. I need a good staff person. I'm in the church. I need a ministry person. I need a friend. And God sends you. He sends you help. Then you turn around and go through them and try. No, just talk about what you need in general. What are some of your common needs? Because if he sent you a specialist, he sent you a person. The only thing they need to do is become sensitive to your issues, draw empathy with where you are in your emotions, and begin now to put strategies and stratagems together to work and strengthen you so you can be from point A to point B. You don't need to spend your time now micromanaging the process of the people that God sent you. You're going to run them away. Come on now. So Nehemiah, he checks out the scene. He realizes that back there at home in Jerusalem, there are 4 groups of leaders. He realized that the Jews as a people, the community at large, they have something to say about things. He realized that the priest was there under Ezra, the scribe at the priest, also had something to say about the religious life and the social life and all the other lives that the priest had something to say. He realized that there were nobles in the community, and these were people from the upper families that had money, and the nobility of the land. There's always in every culture family groups that are what you call the nobility of the upper class. He realized that there was nobility there that had something to say. And then he realized that there was rulers. He realized that there was a system of hierarchy of protocols when it came down to government, whether you have aldermen or city councilmen, and then you have a mayor, and then you have a county commissioners or the president of the county, and then you're going to have certain jurisdictions, and then you're going to have the governors, and then you're going to have the state representatives and the senators, and then you're going to have congressmen and senators. So he understood. He understood that there was a leadership pool group. And he understood the protocols that now if God is going to allow him to go back to help and work with his people from where he stood, he had an understanding, Dr. Gum, that God was going to work, but he also had an understanding of who he was going to be working with. Capable leadership does an inventory and is clear of the people that they serve. And if they're not clear, because sometimes line upon line, precept on precept, but they at least have become a student to continuously to have takeaways, life experiences, and teachable moments in which they learn how to relate with and to those persons who are in charge legally and those who are illegally have made themselves in charge and think they run it. So he's got to navigate through all of those different personalities to be what God has called him to be. Isn't that something? Sometimes it's so frustrating that you know God send you to a place, put you somewhere, but you got to learn how to navigate through all the hell, through all the antagonists, and through all of the negativity, and even some of the insufficiencies and immaturities in your own personality. You got to learn how God teach me and help me in all my ways. I'm acknowledging, direct my path in this situation, because I know you have sent me as a process. I'm a carrier of the gospel, of the good news. And so, but I am also a leader, and leaders were not born, leaders are growing. So as I grow and mature and develop leadership, direct my path, because it's crucial to my task. So we must understand, how then do we, thank you, cousin, how do we navigate? What's the navigation system? By what system of navigation do we navigate protocols? And how do we move through in and out of communities that we find ourselves assigned to, that we have a passion for? Some of us are frustrated now. You're sitting on the sideline. I've been hurt by the church. No, you ain't been hurt by the church. You just have not learned how to navigate personalities. You have not learned how to close your doors and set up boundaries. Some of y'all need to get back up, reset your boundaries. Certain people don't have permission to your inner circle, so stop letting them in. Okay? Certain people do not have permission to frustrate you. They don't have permission to keep your emotions all jacked up. Block them out, lock them out, because some of our frustrations because of choices we did not make. So some of y'all need to, I had to learn that. Some of y'all need to reset your boundaries, disconnect with certain people, and then certain people you got to learn, bring it on. It's going to be a fight. It's going to be a fight straight up, and we ready. So Nehemiah had to deal with all of those situations. Had to deal with all of those situations. This isn't life. So I'm talking about life. Sister Peggy, you said the same rule in corporate America. I'm talking about life. Life. I'm talking about the church. I'm talking about the community. I'm talking about the municipality. So when I look at the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God includes church ministry. Remember, there's 3 M's. I got this from my brother, Apostle Dr. G.E. Bradshaw. Told me 3 M's, ministry, and everything that relates to church, ministry, church. In the discipleship of church, there are 3 things about church. Be the church, do church, have church. So if I'm going to be the church in our communities, then I've got to learn how to do church. When I do church, I mean, I come to the community of believers. I go to workshops and seminars. I participate in certain ministries. I take Bible study. I learn the biblical text. I'm involved in all of the programs of church. That means I'm doing church. Then I got to have me some church. I got to come. I got to celebrate the rituals. I got to go to the convocations. I got to hear the choir. I got to clap my hands or pat my feet. I got to cry. Whatever my rituals, my emotionals and all that, and my emotions and my intellect got to marry. My activities, I got to have somewhere to celebrate. The celebrational life, I got to have me some church, and then I got to be church. So I've got to be the church out there in the community, wherever the people of the body of Christ lives, work, whatever, they're out there in the community. So you got the church ministry, then you got the marketplace. The marketplace is corporate America. It is in the community. Some people don't work in corporate America. Some people work in the community at large. They're not a part of the corporate structure. They're not in the business side, but they are in other things. There's different mountains of culture. They're in the educational system. They're dealing with the family system. They're in the entertainment system. They're in the finance and administration system. There's different systems of culture that makes up the culture life that which believers are in part. And then there's the municipality. Those are the people who write laws, enforce laws, and judge the law. Write the law, legislative body. Enforce the law, the police and the army, the military, and interpret the law, the judicial system. So all of those systems, we have believers, we have judges and professors and counselors and attorneys and all of those kind of police and military people in the different military components. I don't get the naming, because if I don't call all of them, I'm going to be in trouble. So I'm just going to say, if you serve in the military. So we got brothers and sisters that love God, that haven't had an experience that God has got. He's actively involved in the body of Christ in every part of life. So the principles of capable leadership apply to the church and to the community. We have got caught up in, I don't know where this come from, there's a separation between church and state. That's that situation that the Pilgrims brought to America, because they was frustrated because the state church, England, started dictating their lives. So they came over to America and said, it ain't going to be like that. There's going to be a separation between church and state. But from the biblical narrative, it was never so. There was never separation between church and state, because the church and the state was always one, in always related together. God didn't separate himself from the political side of relationships, from his secular side, from his social side. No. That's a misnomer. That's westernized civilization reacting to why they were beat up and came over here for a free world. There is no separation from church and state in the general spiritual things, but there needs to be now, because you see what people do in the sacred. They want you to be like them, and if you're not like them, they want to kill you, they want to crucify you, they want to hang you, and then they do that even if you believe just like them. So because of the people, then we have the separation of church and state. But in the realms of the spirit and the sovereignty of God active on the earth, there is no separation of church and state. He reigns on the just as well as the unjust. And he also deal with all issues of humanity, and he's actively involved in the sovereignty, in the affairs of men and women. That's called his sovereignty. So we must understand that, Dr. Carter. We must understand those things. So now then, Nehemiah understanding that, the first thing he does, the king says, so how can I help you? Don't never, as a leader, bring your issues to the table, and people that have resources to help you ask you how can they help you, and you have no clue. You have a passion, you have some concerns about whatever it is, whether it's your people, whether it's in the community, whether it's social justice issues, whether it's in corporate America, or whatever it is, my Dr. Vince Munden. Don't never be caught in a predicament where those who have the resources and have the capacity and the contacts to pick up the phone and make a call say to you out of your passion and your need, how can I help you? And you tell them you're going to get back to them. You got to pray about it. No, that means you are ill prepared as a leader that is capable of leading out of the sensitivity of what you are and what you feel you have been set to do. So Nehemiah says to the king, well, this is what I need. I need this, I need that, I need letters. I'm going back. I know the walls that need to, I know the doors need to be rehung, and then I got to get some good cherry wood for them doors. So, I need you to give me passage. I need authority. I need a passport. I need some authority. I need some contacts. I need you to give me permission to stop by the King's Fortress and pick up some wood, because I got to do some doors when I get there. I know on my way down there, I got some haters. I got some people who don't know who I am. They think I'm a Jew. So we got some racial institutional people that don't like Jews. But since I am your cupbearer, they people don't know who I am down there. I need you to give me an ID badge. I need you to give me some papers or who I am and who I represent. Some of you are always out in the community without a passport. Well, I've been called to preach, but you won't submit yourself to be credentialed or commissioned. Well, I want to be a nurse. Well, go to school and get your certifications. Well, I want to be a counselor. Well, get your state license. In order to practice and to be involved before you even become a leader of something, you need to have your protocols together and those things and endorsements. We call it Apostolic Endorsement. You need to be endorsed by the caliber of what you represent. Don't come to me telling me you can do this, and that. You have no endorsements. You have no certification. You have no license. You have no training. You didn't take time out and study, or you know how to do something. You didn't go back and upgrade because things change and you're not there. But you want to be, but you a leader. Come on now. Come on now. The world is too smart for that. My brothers and sisters all over the world, you know the economy is different. Technology is constantly evolving. Books and stuff have to upgrade to new editions, and you're going to come to me talking about God told you to do this and this, and he wants you to help your people. Help your people do what? What do you bring to your people? Where are you? So Nehemiah was like that. He said, this is what I need. I got to have this, 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 and this. So when he gets to where he's going, after 4 months of traveling, as soon as he get down there, he started running to people, Sanballat and Tobiah. He started running to some wannabes, some other people. Sanballat, you know, he's a Samaritan. He's the governor of Samaritan. He's a half Jew. He's a half Jew. Tobiah is a Ammonite married to a Jewish woman. And then they're giving him, and one of the Arabs. So they're giving him all kind of problems. They're getting him all issues because they're intimidated by the fact that he's coming with letters. So they're going to try to, you know, drop stuff. You know, do rumors on him. Well, you know what's up there? You know, blah, blah, blah. Come, let's go to dinner. No, I ain't going to dinner with you. In fact, no, in fact, let me tell you something. Since you coming at me right now, let me identify you. You are the enemy, number one. Number two, I'm not afraid of you. Number three, in fact, we don't even need your help. Nehemiah told somebody, no, you have no part in the building of the Jerusalem, neither celebrate in this memorial. Well, you know, because, you know, what Brenston is if you can't win them, join them. No, I ain't joining. No, they ain't joining. No. Well, sometimes, Brenston, you got to be nice. You just got to let, no. This is a fight. Sometimes you got to have war. David said, blessed be the name of the Lord, which teaches my hands how to war and my fingers how to fight. And sometimes when you are captain and you are lieutenant and you are general in the body of Christ, whether you're in corporate America or whether you're in the church or community, you got to stage your fight and your wars. You got to decide wait. Satan, as a roaring lion, walking about, seeking whom he may devour. Resist him in the faith. Certain people you have to resist. Certain people you got to get told. Certain people, no weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rise up against you in judgment, you shall condemn. Some things, a tongue is a deadly poison, but sometimes you need to take your tongue and speak truth to power. Sometimes you need to set the record straight and stop backing down. Don't be no punk. Jesus was never no punk. That's what people said, but no, he wasn't no punk. No. So you can't be no punk. You just have to be wise. You got to know when to speak, when not to speak. Quick to speak, slow down. And when you speak, you got to be able to speak right. Speak to the point, and don't be with your head all down talking about, pray the law, pray. No, ain't no pray the law. No, talk, share, lay it out, think through, be strategic. That's what God is looking for. He needs those kind of men and women in times like these. And so Nehemiah, he comes to the point. He understands that he's dealing with four different groups of people that he's got to convince that he's had a heart for his people. He's got to talk with the Jews and the common people of the community. He's got to talk with the priests under Israel's leadership. He's got to talk to the nobles, the people who got the money in the community. And then he's got to talk to the rulers. He's got to talk to the government officials and those who are in charge of the law and all that. So he's got to come down as a governor himself with political papers to do the political stuff. And so he has to get up at night while nobody watching. Sometimes you can't let your good be evil spoken of. Sometimes you can't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Sometimes you can't talk too much. You got to keep it together. But you had to come in. Sometimes you got to walk in political and spiritual stealth where people don't know. They can't put their finger on you. They don't know what they know you there, but they know exactly because you are formulating. You're analyzing. God is giving you wisdom. You're preparing how to come in and go among the people. Come on, somebody. So God prepares you to give you insight to deal with situations and circumstances. And so therefore, I want to understand that. One of the things that I was reading out of the commentary was that this statement is that we must never be surprised or discouraged by the experience of opposition. Never be surprised or discouraged by the experience of opposition. Many young preachers and managers and supervisors and leaders fail to achieve their goals because they refuse to anticipate the possibility of opposition. You must always be prepared that there is a possibility of opposition, that may come no matter how much charisma you have, no matter how good you are, no matter how smart you are, no matter how much you know. You must never be ignorant of the fact that no matter how you are, what position you have, that there is a possibility for you to come in contact with a full-blown opposition. And some of us that don't know that, we burn out, we get frustrated, we throw in the towel. Opposition is a part of the process. For those who are leaders that understand situations and circumstances. So therefore, we must understand that leaders then are not born, they are groomed. Yeah, Brother Simon, yeah. Leaders are groomed. They effective leader. Effective leader. Leadership is a learned behavior. Huh? So leaders are not born. Well, if you're born, you have leadership potential, but leadership is a learned behavior. And it's made through discipline and diligent work. In order to be effective leaders, you must also have the capacity to be decisive. The biblical text tells us a double-minded person is unstable enough. We have people who say, you leaders, you're so double-minded. You start this and you stop that. You start on this, you stop that. It's like your church is all up and out. You up and out. If you in corporate America, your business is closed today and open tomorrow. Don't know what to do because you double-minded. You got to be able to make a decision and understand what's going on. I mean, that's very important. I had that down. And when I was looking at what does it mean to be a decision maker, to make decisions, you got to be able to make decisions if you're going to be a leader. Regardless, Dr. Joe, you got to be able to make decisions. Huh? You got to lead. You got to deal with it. You got to conclude where it is, make a decision about it, then move on it, and then go back and evaluate it, and then continue to move forward. All of that is about people who are called to lead. So Nehemiah is an example. We don't have all time. I'm running about 7 minutes short of my end time. So I want you to go back and read the book of Nehemiah, Esther, Ezra, Zerubbabel, Ezra, and Nehemiah. Read Haggai and all of those books and really study Nehemiah and his capacity to lead. His capacity and sensitivity to understand what he was doing. I made some notes to myself when I was teaching the lesson earlier today. Let me see, I wrote it somewhere in here about Nehemiah, some of the principles that Nehemiah had. Nehemiah, an example of committed leadership. I'm talking about committed, capable leadership. Now, we can talk about leadership all day, but I'm talking about committed, capable leadership. When I talk about committed, capable leadership, I'm not only talking about committed, capable leadership in the church community, I'm talking about it in life. I'm talking about it in corporate America. I'm talking about in ministry, in life, in corporate America, in municipality, in government, in everyday life. Leadership in your home. Leadership on your job, leadership in your family, leadership among your friends, leadership on the job. What does it mean to be a supervisor? What does it mean to be a leader? Huh? Come on. So, some of us, we run around talking about we're a leader because somebody gave us that name and they taking our money, so they just made us that just to keep us happy. No. I'm talking about Dr. Mallory. Yes, committed, capable leadership. Because there's some capable leadership that's not committed. And there's some people who are committed in leadership, but they ain't capable. Now, they haven't upgraded their stuff. They haven't upgraded their stuff. So we understand that personality is the personality of leadership. And then we don't want to confuse charisma and charismata as a personality trait. So everybody with charismata or charismatic, a charismatic person is not always a leader. Sometimes we see a person that's very charismatic. They know how to, they have a compelling attractiveness about them. That's what charismata is the personality trait that has a compelling attractiveness and devotions to others where they can pull people in. You've been around people, they can pull you in, they can get you going, but they can't take you nowhere. That you just so frustrated hanging with them because they got charismatic. You just like to be around them. So, but where you going? What you doing? You need a charismatic leader that can also pull you in, but also can give you some structures, some strategies, and help you grow. No and yes is a part of your curriculum. So Nehemiah, example, he was committed. Why? First of all, he was prepared by God. Let's look at some of the things about committed, capable leadership, prepared by God. Nehemiah was prepared by God. He went through a process. He had moved up. He was the king's cupbearer, but he could pray and fast and seek God. So he had a relationship with God. Prepared by God, relationship with God. Remember, when God sends people into your life, send people to your inner circle, one of the things you might want to ask yourself, is this person that God has sent me already prepared? If he prepares a table before, if God prepares people to send to you, then respect those people and respect the fact that God heard your prayer and sent them to you. So don't take them through the changes. Release them to be creative in what they got to do because they've already been prepared by God. Number one. Number two, he understood the nature of the part that he was to play. He understood the nature. He understood that there's going to be some negative forces and some positive forces. There's going to be some haters. He understood the nature of his part. That I'm going to win some, I'm going to lose some. You know, I've got to be even. There's just certain things that goes with the nature of a leader, a committed one. You got to understand it. He understood the detractors and the haters. He understood how to identify detractors and haters and don't take it personal. We want to stand by and say, let's get together. Let's meet at this place. Let's go to dinner. He said, no, I'm too busy. I got things to do. He didn't cuss him out. He just said, no, thank you. You know, well, maybe another time. Well, you know, I don't know, but I'm busy right now and just move on. The ability also, he had the ability to use and learn how to work with influence. Some of you all have influence. You have connections. You don't know when to use it, when not to use it. You connect the wrong people with the wrong person. You use your influence with little lazy folk. Your name and all that is used. And you be like, well, now people don't believe me. Why? Because you use your influence and name on somebody who wasn't qualified. And you put them out there. And now they messing up your name because you did not have the wisdom, even though they were nice and you liked them, not to give them your endorsement in certain matters. You have to learn how to withhold certain endorsement. They're a good guy. They're a good gal. You know, they have a loving personality, but I can't recommend them to this, and that. And you don't even say that. And I use some things, you just, oh, that's my boy. That's my, you know, I mean, I had to learn that. That's my boy. And you send people over there to do that, and they call you back and say, Doc, come on. Now, you sent this person to me. Let me tell you, they done jacked up this, they done messed up that, and now you upset because you did not take your time out to protect and cover who you are, your influences, your name. People just ride by your name, drop your name and drop your stuff with no verification just because they have a need. You got to know how to protect that. You know how to carry yourself with that. You got to also know and have to understand how to leverage what you know, what you need to know, who you need to be with, how you network, and how you be innovative. And how are you ready to change and how you need to restructure if you must. All that has to do with committed, capable leadership. And so those are the kinds of things I found in Nehemiah. There were so many things that we can talk about that we just didn't have time to cover with Nehemiah and the story of Nehemiah. But I hope that you have got something out of this. So we talk about this theme, committed, capable leadership. Nehemiah, capable leadership. When I think about Nehemiah, I want to think about Nehemiah as capable leadership. That's why the theme of this presentation today is capable leadership. Nehemiah, capable leadership. So we need to understand that. We need to understand that God has given us people. And so let me give you a couple of principles that was in the commentary today about the essential quality of leadership. There were 5 points. Number one, to be innovative. Learn how to use technology to expand and enhance your business, to produce a double-digit growth. Always be innovative. Don't be satisfied in just the status quo. Number 2, recognize the need to develop strategic partnerships. Why is this person? Why are you hanging with this one? What you networking with this one and that one for? Well, because no. Every networking partner that you develop must be strategic to your journey, strategic to what God is calling you to be. Huh? You must be. Some of these people, they just call you, hound you stuff. They not strategic. Leave them alone. When you're going to network with people, then you must understand and ask yourself, me networking with this person, participating with this person, how does this participate and help me grow and where I got to go? And how does it help me in what I'm doing? So we have to know how to set up networking partnerships that are strategic. That's the second. The third thing we must understand is that we have to look for people that have something beyond what we know. We have to connect with people that's beyond our sphere of information, beyond our sphere of operation. The way you operate and what you know, there's always going to be somebody that can operate 10 times better. There's always going to be somebody that got a better way of doing something. So you got to be open enough, to be sensitive enough, to work from a global perspective and see a larger picture and stop talking from where you sit. But you got to step out of where you sit and listen to other folk who sit higher, because you got to have a global, wider perspective in your ministry, in corporate America, whatever you're doing as a capable leader. And then fourth, you have to remember that you have to be open to embrace change. Change. You got to be able to embrace change and innovation. You've got to be able to adapt. You got to be able to understand there's ongoing changes in the marketplace. What we did yesterday may not work today. You got to be able to adapt. You got to adapt yourself to the changes of life and society, both whether or not you're in ministry, the church, or the marketplace, or life. You've got to be able to be adaptable to change. This is how we do it. Well, this is how we did it, but there's another way. Behold, I show you a more excellent way. Well, let's talk about that and let's see how we can grow. We don't want to throw away everything, but how can we improve? How do I down? Some of you all need an upgrade. You doing what you do it well, but you need an upgrade. Just upgrade. You need to tweak it. You need to be tweaked. You got to tweak it. Well, it always works, but you got different people now. So you got to understand. You got to understand that your business restructure, and some of y'all might need to even change your name. Some of y'all got these churches. Great Mountain of Hope. Well, you ain't in no mountain of hope. You're down in the sea now. You might need to change your name. Change your name of your ministry. Change your name of your business. Restructure your stuff. Look at your stuff. Look at marketing, who you are. Come on. You got to look at all the varieties of things in order to have capable leadership. So good habits is a part of effective leadership. And so these are some of the things I found out in this story of Nehemiah. There were so many things that I could talk about. But remember that if you're going to be a capable leader, one of the tools that you must have is empathy. You've got to empathy. Google it. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. Jesus was touched with the feelings of our infirmity. If you're going to be capable as a leader, you must have empathy. You must be empathetic. You must hear from God. You must be sensitive to where you are. You must also understand opposition, haters come with the process. You got to understand open doors come, but adversaries stay. And even though you might swim and get out of the water and don't drown, remember when you get on dry land, you might get bit by the serpent. But can you shake off the serpent and keep on moving? What is it about you? What is it about what God is saying? To my brothers and my sisters across the world, to my brothers and sisters, my Facebook family across the world, in America, those that are in the state of Illinois, in the city of Chicago, where I live, where I function, those in the body of Christ, whether or not you are in a minister, or whether or not you're in corporate America, whether or not you are domestically related in the community, whether you speak truth to power, you're community active, a leader, wherever you are, a member, trying to find yourself, or wherever you are, note this, that God is looking for capable leaders. God prepares capable leaders. There's one thing to be a leader, but are you capable? Are you dependable? And so we're excited. And so I speak now and I celebrate to my brothers and sisters. This has been your host, Apostle Dr. Sylvester Paul Brinson III. Huh? Dean of the Brinson Institute and the Brinson Connection, sharing with you on today the lesson of committed, capable leadership by looking at Nehemiah and examining those principles. I tell you, take some time out when you're not busy and go read the book of Nehemiah through the lens of capable leadership. Read the book of Nehemiah through committed, capable leadership. So we're talking about committed, capable leadership through the lens of Nehemiah. And so may God continue to bless you is my prayer. Go with peace and know that God will give you the strength, and he also will send you the support staff that's capable to work with you. Can you be a team leader? Can you to participate on a team? Can you be in the middle of the team? But can you just at least work with a relationship and be relational as you seek to grow and be made to understand that leadership is nurtured and grown. Charismata you may be born with, but you got to take your charismata, put it with your leadership capabilities. Let God grow you through people, places, things, and experiences, both good and bad, life takeaways and learning lessons and experiences, and be stronger than what you are today. Until next time, God bless you.